There we go. All right. Well, hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you for being with us here today. My name is Jamie Fogel, and I'm joined today by April Mora and Lori Myers, who might have been invited by one of them to be here with us today. So we're with Thrive Wealth Solutions in partnership with Nexus International. We help our clients grow, protect, and preserve their assets by using a financial vehicle that is not only predictable, but proven and very profitable. So much so, the banks put billions of our money into this financial instrument, and our unique strategy exponentially grows our clients' wealth. So we found that this partnership with Nexus can give our clients the true peace of mind that most people are seeking. We're able to offer them ultimate asset control, ultimate asset protection, ultimate asset invisibility, and best of all, ultimate tax benefits. So I'm going to hand it over to April, and she's kind of going to go over how all of this is accomplished when you have the proper structure in place. So, and this is April.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jamie. And thank you, Lori, and everyone that's joined us today. And, again, we won't take too much of your time, but definitely wanted to just share some information with you today and learn how the right trust can serve you. And, again, with Jamie, explaining Thrive and Nexus and our collaboration, just the way that we can come together and really offer you a full service solution that makes sense. So today's discussion and insight is going to be built around the framework for a proper trust structure. Really what we're going to talk about is how business owners can reduce their tax exposure up to 90%, depending on how you're currently structured. Maybe there's a better way to structure, but we'll kind of go into that and give a little insight. Also, property owners. Property owners either bring in rental income or they buy and sell real estate. Either they hold or they flip. Whatever they're looking to do, they may get hit with capital gains exposure. And there's a way that you can mitigate that. And also just individuals in general may just have assets, whether it be property, money, cryptocurrency, stocks, whatever assets that you hold, you'll find a way that you can control it a lot better here and really have peace of mind because you have full protection. So we'll dive into this a little bit more, and I'll open it up for Q&A at the end as well, and kind of go over kind of the next steps there as well. So let's just talk for a moment. If you had more money, what would you be doing with it right now? If you had access and you were able to keep more money than you have right now, what would you be doing with it right now?
Do you want to share your screen yet?
Oh my goodness, am I not sharing a screen?
I don't see it on my side.
Oh, sorry guys. Thought I was sharing. Well, that would have helped. Let's do this. Do you see this now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys.
You just might want to do full screen so we don't see like your toolbars.
Perfect. So can you see that now?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Great. Okay. It would probably help with some visuals. So we went over this. Business owners reducing their taxes up to 90%, property owners to reduce their capital gains exposure, and then also individuals that are looking to protect their assets while remaining in control. So if right now you had access to more money, if you were able to hold on to more money, what would we be doing with it right now? And I kind of pose this question, if anybody wants to, answer it. When I have freer money, I can actually put more money into marketing dollars, right, for my business. I know some of our business owners may want to hire somebody else, or some of us maybe want to take that vacation we haven't been able to take. But this is really about the conversation we're having today. So I'll start with this kind of analogy. There's vehicles for different objectives in our life. You could get a Prius, great, you can go really spend a lot less in your gas mileage. It's electric, right? It's on the road. But, you're probably not going to get a Prius if you want to go on the dunes of Pismo Beach, right? That's not what you're going to get a Prius for. You're going to get it for more of your off-roading. So think of it this way. Trust structure and types of trusts out there are for different purposes. There are some that give you some protections and others that give you even additional protections to that. And so that's really what our discussion here is. So let's talk about that for a moment. Let's imagine that this line right here represents your life. Right? This is your life. And there's a certain point in our life that we will pass away. So if you have, quite a few of us have gotten a living trust. And a living trust, thank goodness you have something. It is better than nothing, because a living trust does help us at one moment in our life, right? When we pass away, it helps our family avoid probate. Our assets do not have to go through probate. So that is a great, great thing. If you already have an existing trust, you will be able to bypass probate. So that is important. However, you want to also have control before you die. And you also want to have control beyond the grave. So before and beyond. This is what we're talking about today. So not only avoiding probate, but to have full protection. Have full protection before and after. And so when we're talking about this, we're going to talk about the 5 unique components that make up the trust that we're discussing today. First of all, it's irrevocable. This is important because we want to make sure that the assets that we put in can't just automatically just be reverted back to the one that set up the trust. Right? A lot of times, if it's revocable, that's when it can be pierced, right? Because you pretty much, you don't have to choose to keep it in or out. You can be really flexible. And so that leaves it open for exposure. Also, you want it to be a non-grantor trust. This is important because it exempts you from the alter ego. If you were to go and possibly get a lawsuit against you, and the opposing counsel is in there and says, oh, you've set up a trust, but look, judge, it's an alter ego. What alter ego means is there's three individuals to a trust. The one that set it up, which is typically called the grantor or the settlor. The trustee, the one that controls the assets, which most likely, right? That's the one that owns the assets, and the beneficiary. So when you set up a trust, most of the time, even with living trusts, most of the time, you are the settlor, the one that set it up, and the trustee. So you're acting as 2 individuals. And in that case, your trust can be pierced. It doesn't truly give you true asset protection and tax advantages. So this is what this gives you here. Also, it's dual track, meaning most trusts out there are simple. You must distribute to your beneficiaries, which does not give you tax benefits. This allows you to choose. So the trust that you will be setting up will give you the option on if you want to be looked at as a simple trust for that tax year or a complex trust. A complex trust can accumulate income and distribute from the trust. And so that's the key component that needs to be within here as well. Discretionary, it just gives you as the trustee the discretion to distribute income, but it's left solely to you. You're not required to distribute income like most others out there. And that's why we feel the burden of income tax, right, against some of these trusts that we have. And then finally, the spendthrift provision. This truly makes the trust not being able to be penetrated. A judge or court cannot reach these assets and they cannot turn over. You cannot have a trust reversed. This spendthrift provision is incredibly important. And really, there's only two cases that a spendthrift provision or a trust can be pierced. And that's just straight fraud, which everything we do is in black and white, and back child support. Any other issue, we have not have case studies that prove that it can be pierced. So when we're talking about those 5 elements, that is what not all trusts are created equal. And so it's important to understand the trust structure. And it's okay. This is kind of your new time listening to trust or what it's about. You have subject matter experts on our team that can truly teach you and sit down with you one-on-one and really go over your specific scenario to see if it's something that makes sense. So let's talk briefly on what active income is versus passive income. Now, think of it this way. If the individual themselves goes out to make the money, comes back to you in the form of a paycheck, however you get paid, this is considered active income. Active income, you get taxed at whatever the ordinary income tax rate is of that day, right? So just remember that the individual making the money, it is active. However, if the asset itself is going out and making the money, say a property that's collecting rental income, you're selling a property, it's capital gains. There is the asset making the money on your behalf, and that is what we consider passive. So everything that we're talking about today is how to bring active income, how to convert it into passive income. Some you just can't. W-2 employees, your employer has chosen you how you're going to pay your tax. However, if you have a portion of your money that comes in as a 1099, or you're a property owner, or there's some way that we can structure this and we can help you turn that active income into passive income. Passive income is not considered income by the IRS. Now, we have a private letter ruling from the IRS, and we have already also an opinion letter from the law firm. And we can share this information, these letters, after we're completed here. We can make sure to send you over a few documents for your review. But this is just an extraction, citing the Internal Revenue Code. And I'll just read the bottom that's in bold here. And it specifically is talking about passive income. Items of gross income constituting extraordinary dividends or taxable stock dividends, which the fiduciary, acting in good faith, determines to be allocable to corpus. Corpus is the body of the trust, under the terms of the governing instrument and applicable local law, shall not be considered income. So what is passive income? These are the 6 incomes that, if properly structured within a trust, and the asset is now making this type of income, it is not to be considered income by the IRS. Rental income, royalty income, interest and dividend, K1 passive income, and capital gain income. So these 6 types of income, again, if we can structure a properly constructed trust, you can mitigate taxation. So one of the stories I want to cover today is about a landlord. This landlord, her family owns $32 million of free and clear commercial real estate. They make over $700,000 a year in just rents received. No other type of income is being made. However, when reviewing her tax return, I found that they're paying more than $150,000 a year in taxes. They had a living trust, they had certain structure, and they just didn't know that there was a way, right, for that active income to be passive. And so now, with that properly structured trust, they can now bring that $150,000 to zero for future years. So if we multiply 150 times 5, that's an amazing amount of money that they are now being able to keep. It's kind of going back to our question in the beginning. what would you do with money that you are now able to keep? This family is going to be able to go buy more commercial property and bring in more rental income. And so this literally becomes this snowball effect because you're not having this interruption, right, of so much money going out. Now, we'll still pay our fair share of taxes. We're not saying we'll get it down to zero, but we can mitigate a tremendous amount of the tax burden, again, if we can change this active income into passive. Another story that I want to share with you is of the business owner. I'm a business owner myself, and I was very excited and very fortunate enough to know I now have this trust structure that I'm setting up, to complement, my business structure that I already have in place. For business owners, I was specifically sitting with someone the other day. They have $1 million net income. That's their net income. But they tend to write off all of their, right? They keep track of deductions. They write off all their expenses, and they write off $800,000. So they're only going to get taxed on that $200,000, right? That's typically what business owners do, right? We keep track of our deductions, write everything off. However, when we go to sell that company, when we try to get that true valuation and try to get 10 times X, whatever I'm showing, I'm only going to get 10 times X, 200K, right? So with proper trust structure, we're able, this business owner now does not have to keep track of deductions, right? So imagine if you have $1 million net income, after you pay expenses and payroll, you have $1 million net. Of that million, you can set up a trust structure where if you had, let's say I have an LLC myself. So this trust gets set up, and now my trust can be a limited partner up to 90% of the income. So in that case, that $1 million net, 900K gets to be transferred in my trust, never get taxed. And the $100,000 that's left, that's what I pay taxes on. So when I go to sell my company, that true valuation will be there. I get to sell it for $1 million times, 10, not at 200K, right? So it allows you to have your cake and eat it too as a business owner, complementing and bringing trust structure into your business structure where you can move money legally and hold on to more. Now, capital gains. I know a lot of individuals here in the Bay Area are feeling this. We have homeowners that have purchased their properties decades ago. And this individual purchased his property for $67,000, and now he's looking at selling, right? It was appraised for 2.7, now it's up to 3.2. So at 3.2 million, if you were to sell this without the trust, of course, there's a huge capital gains issue here. However, if he's able to set up the proper trust structure prior to putting his home on market, he can defer and mitigate that capital gains tax, and it would be going down to zero specifically for this property. So these are just a few of the stories, but it's for really anybody that has assets, is a business owner or a property owner. There is a way to protect and control your assets in a very strong structure. These are just a few, the companies that pay little to zero federal income tax. I'd say over half of the Fortune 500 companies pay very little. And it's really just because they have professionals around them that understand the tax code, that can teach them structure in the ways that they can keep the money in there and keep more money for themselves. Amazon paid zero taxes on $11.2 billion in 2018. Now, there's a lot of firms out there that help the big boys, and we may not have this many zeros behind our income, but that doesn't mean that we don't get and deserve to have the same help and the same insight as these big guys do. And what we found with our collaboration with Nexus International Accountants and Advisors is they have a true turnkey solution for everyone, right? You don't have to be the billionaire in order to get their attention. They will help everyone and put them through a turnkey solution that makes it easy. They have the bookkeepers, the CPAs, the tax attorneys, everyone that can truly help you with any questions that you have and be proactive with your structure along the way. So a couple of quotes that I like here. John D. Rockefeller, known as, the big oil tycoon, he has been said to have over 1,000 trusts for different reasons, but all about structure. I don't think we need 1,000, but he used quite a bit of them. But he is known to say, don't be afraid to give up the good to go for the great. And I really think that that's what we're talking about today, right? We maybe have our business structure, making really good money. This makes a lot of sense for me, but I have that $50,000 tax bill at the end of the year. Okay, let me look at a different strategy that makes sense for me. I'll give up the good to go for the great. And now I can hold on to more money. He's also known to say, own nothing but control everything. I think this is the most key quote that really defines what we're talking about today. Imagine you are the puppet master. Whatever assets you put in your trust, it is just being held on behalf of you. You still control them. You just don't own them in your personal name. If you own something, that means that it can be taken away from you, right? You can have a target on our back. We own all of these things. And I think as human beings, we have sometimes we run into this issue with like pride of ownership and pride of authorship. We want our name on that building. We want our name on things. But is that really the best thing to do? Right? There's a way that you can, again, keep everything in the trust. So instead of owning the car in your name and owning the house in your name, have the trust own it. But you get beneficial interest. You get to live in the house. You get to drive the car. So think of it that way. And let me see if I can mute everybody. Let's see. Sorry, guys. Hold on one second. Okay. I don't see anybody. Okay. So, excuse me. So the 5 ultimate living benefits that come with our trust is asset invisibility. That's important. Exactly what we were just talking about right now, where people don't need to know what you have in your trust. They don't need to know your assets. And you can have anonymity. They don't need to know that it is your trust, right? So you typically pick a name that has nothing to do with your last name. Again, remember, give up pride of authorship. You want this to really protect what you and your family have built. Asset protection. You don't want this to be able to be pierced in any type of lawsuit. So you have true protection. Have control, right? Have control over the assets while you're living and beyond the grave. You literally can put verbiage inside your trust that says, you know what? I want my family to give $5,000, a month to my favorite charity for the next 100 years. This trust is printed on parchment paper. Parchment paper lasts over 1,000 years. This is a trust with a renewable feature. Every 20 years, it will renew. This will will continue on for generations to come, and you still remain in control. Also, tax benefits. That's actually, I think, a major key part of this is if you can structure yourself to reduce your taxes, it's a great strategy. And we believe if you have the first four, you definitely have true peace of mind. Our trust is grounded in trust case law, tax code, and contract law. This falls under common law, so it's above statute law. So if you were to ever get sued, our trust legally can only be viewed by two individuals. You as the trustee and the judge in his private chambers. Those are the only two that are allowed to see this book. And then when they see
April, who's
that,
that win on wealth? Because they're not muted and they just keep disturbing the presentation.
yeah, I cannot find who that is. Let me see, mute. Did I get him?
You got them.
April,
Okay.
I told Carlos to tell it's Nelson from WoW. I told him already.
You told him already? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So the trust is grounded and also with common law. So common law is above statutory law. So, you know, this is not something that legislation can come in and interrupt. This is contract law. If we sign on a napkin and have an agreement that we do business together, right? That's a contract. No one can come in and disrupt that contract. And so it's incredibly strong. And we have all of the case laws to back this up as well. And we can get that information to you. We can go over what tax codes. It's typically within the 600s under the tax codes that all of this falls under. And all of the 7 different bodies of trust that this conforms to. And that's important too. But this is all within the legal opinion letter of the IRS and the information from the attorneys as well. So this is a good quote, you know, never be deceived that the rich will permit you to vote away their wealth. You know, I have some individuals that are looking at this trust structure, and one of their questions was, well, this is all great, you know, if I get the trust today, but what if the laws get changed on me tomorrow? Like, what happens there? And really, the truth is, if all the wealthy are putting their money into these strategies we're talking about, what makes you think that they're going to change the law in order to hurt themselves? We're just joining the big boys, right? So I truly don't believe that we will find a time that this trust structure will be overturned, right? And they'll take these or make laws, you know, that impede us putting money, you know, into this trust. So this is, you know, the journey that you could experience, you know, working with us, working with Nexus specifically on finding out if this trust solution works for you in your current situation. So what we do is we typically schedule a Q&A session. We would email over a questionnaire, just a 1-pager. It's not a thick thing. It's not pages long, 1 page. And, you know, it just allows us to just gather enough information in order to better serve you. And so the next thing after the questionnaire is completed is we help you set up a Q&A session. That question and answer session is set up with a subject matter expert inside Nexus, where you can specifically ask your one-on-one questions. Everybody on this phone call has a different structure. Maybe you have an S Corp or a C Corp or an LLC, or you just own properties, or you just have questions on cryptocurrency and capital gains, or you have stocks in a personal name and you need it moved to a business. Whatever your scenario, everybody's is different. And so, you know, it's really about getting your specific questions answered so you feel comfortable and understand the process that you are going to go on and the holding of hands that you can experience, you know, through this. After your Q&A session, if you feel that it's right for you, then there is an intake form completed. That intake form is different than the questionnaire. The intake form is, you know, asking you questions like, Who do you want your trustee to be? Of course, it's you, right? Who do your beneficiaries, right? These are the questions on the structure of your trust book, right? Your payment is completed, and then it goes into Nexus for the team to prepare your trust book. With that, they would be going on the irs.gov website and forming your EIN number for your trust and preparing your book. From number 2 to number 3, that's typically a 2-week process for them to get that all done. Then your trust book is delivered. A lot of our clients do not live in the same states. That's okay. We would FedEx it to you. And then once you get it, there'll be a phone call with Nexus customer service to activate your book. That means you're signing your book, you're bringing it to life. And you're also deciding where you want your trust bank account to be opened. A lot of individuals use Wells Fargo. We find that the bigger the bank, the older the bank, they understand this type of trust. And so they do not ask you for information they are not allowed to ask you about. There's certain banks that we've run into that will require that you make a copy, that they copy your entire trust book and send it to their manager to make sure it's approval to open up a bank account. That is not okay, right? It's a 1-pager saying the name, complex, spendthrift, non-grantor, common law trust. It has all of these words in it for a reason. Spendthrift must be in your actual name of your trust. And so once they understand what kind of trust you have, they will only ask for limited information. And that's really important. And we can give you a list of banks that work well, with this type of trust. You'll also be given a timeline, spreadsheet to provide, all the tracking, all the moving parts. It's important to know what assets you have, what assets you're going to be moving in. And so again, these are all phone calls. You'll have your hand held with a Nexus customer service representative that will help you prepare bill of sales, anything that's needed to move assets into your trust. You'll also get an introduction to the bookkeeper that will be handling all of your bookkeeping, QuickBooks. There's a way to integrate them so you have communication with your bookkeeper and the CPA firm. If you have not been introduced to the CPA firm on number 1 over here, like if your questions are specifically only about your tax issues and they're very specific, like we had an individual that, wanted to know, did he still have to write out his Q2 tax bill, right before the end of June, or would his trust be set up in time? What's the timeline? What's my tax implication? So that was only something maybe the CPA can answer. So if you hadn't been introduced to the CPA up until now, there would be a warm handoff there. And now you have your proper structure in place. Now, this is not where it ends. Know that you have a team behind you now. You have law firm, CPA firm, anybody and everybody that you need in order to continue on this journey. If you ever are in the position after you have the trust, you're like, oh, I need to sell my property. Oh, or I want to buy that fourplex over there. Don't buy it yet. Talk to a Nexus professional where they can make sure to have all of the paperwork ready for you and be proactive on that step, right? Because once it's done, and if there was something done wrong, there's no way to unring that bell, right? So we'll walk through the journey with you. So I'll stop here just for a moment, just to maybe open it up just for some high-level questions, just on what I talked about so far, and then I can kind of describe kind of the next set in closing. And I think everybody's on mute. Anyone questions? No, we're good. Okay,
I have a question.
go ahead.
Yes, Paul Raimondo, I'm a friend of Alan's.
Hi, Paul.
Question I have is my son-in-law, he is a big real estate investor and he owns a couple apartment buildings. One I think he owns outright, one he's in with partners. The one with partners, could they convert the ownership to a trust with all of them as trustees, or how would that work?
Yes, partnerships can work within the work within the trust structure. They would just need to get permission, right, from the other partner, saying that this is what they're wanting to do. And that would be defined. They literally draw it out on a whiteboard for that scenario, that situation, to make sure that it will fit and that it'll work. So both of the partners would have to agree to put that property into a trust. So when they sell, they don't get capital gains, or if they're buying and holding, it's rental, they're bringing in rental income. Right now they're getting, they're paying income tax on rental income.
Right.
So if they do it this way as partners and they agree to form a trust where they both are trustees, and the properties that they own together as partnership come into that come into that trust, and all of those properties, now they would not be paying taxes on rental income.
Okay, and the one he owns outright, he could just do that the same way, but he's the only trustee.
You're right. Exactly right.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, April, this is Mark Davis Taylor. How you doing?
Doing well. How are you, Mark?
Hey, that whole little journey scenario, what is the timeline from beginning all the way to the end?
So timeline from all the way to the beginning to the end, we find that it's 2 weeks for this dot here.
Right.
And, however long, it may be 2 days, right, for the delivery book. All of this happens within 5 to 7 days, the remaining of it, right?
Got
It's
it.
just as quick as the owner going into the bank and opening up a bank account and right, and all of those types of things. If they have merchant accounts, certain things in business they have to set up. We had a situation where, through the Q&A session, we found out that the business owner was an S corp, right? And it really doesn't give you the true tax advantages just being an S corp. So then sitting with the CPA, finding out that an LLC worked better. And so Nexus helped him set up his LLC, right, to set up the proper trust for the, structure for the trust. So in his case, it took a few days longer, right? So it just depends on what needs to be done. But I would say from start to finish, this all should be 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, so if you told the client maximum a month, you'd be well within the guideline.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. Can everybody put their phone on mute, please? Someone's in a car, I think. Oh my goodness. Hold on 1 second. Mute. Okay, is everybody muted now? Okay. Okay, so if we have no more questions, I just wanted to just keep your attention just for a few more minutes. Not going to go into this long, but just wanted to let you know the next steps. The next one would be to complete that questionnaire to schedule your Q&A session. So what's going to happen is the person that invited you here today will be following up with you to schedule that one-on-one session. And then you'd sit. That would most likely be a Zoom, a phone call or a Zoom meeting, whatever you prefer, for a Q&A session, with the subject matter experts to answer any questions that you have with your current structure and see if this would be a good fit, for your current situation. And before I close up for the day, I just wanted to share with you, Jamie had said in the very beginning, when we first sat together, Thrive Wealth Solutions, the collaboration with Nexus, it just seemed like such a great fit because Nexus really helps you mitigate that taxation and really protects your assets and keeps you in control. So now you're going to have, right, you have all of this freed up monies. What we do at Thrive Wealth Solutions is we show you how to exponentially grow your money. It's that snowball, right? And we use the power of uninterrupted compounding growth. And so we're going to have another webinar next week, Tuesday, 2 p.m. We'll make sure that we get you out the webinar information. We would love for you to join us, but this is going to be on the cash flow strategy itself. It can complement your trust structure quite well, but it truly can be a standalone. You don't need to do the trust, or you don't need to do cash flow in order to make one or the other work. We just found that the marriage between the two is phenomenal. And so uninterrupted compounding growth, I think Benjamin Franklin said it the best. It's money that makes money. And the money that money makes money. So many of us don't really get to benefit from the power of uninterrupted compounding growth, because even as savers, if we have $100,000 sitting in the bank and we need to go get a new car, well, we're not going to go get a loan. So we think, oh, great, we're not a debtor, we're not paying, right? We're not getting that interest accumulation, but we have that $100,000 sitting in the bank. We go pull out $40,000 to buy the new car. We have the wheels in our driveway, but now we've interrupted the growth, and now we're only making interest on $60,000. This strategy allows you to still have the $100,000 sitting in the bank and have your wheels in your driveway. It allows you to have your cake and eat it too. And you're able to take wealth and grow it, use it for retirement. But if you look at this family, Sally and John are in their 50s. Ann and Jeff are 28 and 30. And Ann's kids are 4 and 6. When Simon and Allie are 90, and if they pass away that year, this is the type of wealth that their grandparents had set up for them years and years and years ago. They had just had more time for that money to compound on top of each other. So this is what we share during that presentation together. And, we'd love for you to join us, and we'll make sure to send out some information. But I definitely wanted to thank Lori and Jamie for hosting today and allowing me to come present. And we invite you to thrive with us. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, April. Good job.
Thank you, April. That was great.
Thank you, April.
Thank you. Thank you. And if anybody has any other questions, we'll definitely make sure, Lori, Jamie, or anyone else on the phone call today, will make sure to reach out to you to get that Q&A session at least scheduled, so you can get your intimate questions answered.
Yes, we'll be in touch with you guys. Well, thanks everyone. Have a great afternoon, and we'll be in touch with you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.